Welcome. I'm Debbie Rosas, and you're listening to Get In. This is a podcast dedicated to conversations about all things related to fitness, health, and well being. I'm the founder of Nia, an international company. Since 1983, the work of Nia has been changing people's lives, not only through a holistic workout, but a practice that's very much rooted in personal growth and a movement lifestyle. You got it, movement, bringing movement into your everyday life. Great thing about Nia, you can personalize it and it's adaptable. We're going to get up front, close, and personal with somebody today. Our topic is about somebody in the Nia community. Her name is Suzanne Cohen. She's the recipient of the 2024 Teacher of the Year Award. These are awards that in Nia we give to outstanding people that we believe, well, they deserve our attention. Suzanne is that beautiful thing called a human being, an extraordinary human being. She represents to me what it means to be a student in life, a student of the body and a student of life. She is a student of Nia. She is a healer. She's a teacher, and she brings with her a vast array of knowledge to help us feel better mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Her field, which she's now retired from as a psychologist and psychotherapist, has helped many. And what's so beautiful about her approach to work is how she, from the very beginning, began to integrate Nia to bring movement as part of the medicine to help people feel better. Now, winning a Teacher of the Year award, what does that mean? What do I look for? Well, let me tell you. I look for something that I call mastery. When you look at what we call the Nia Mastery Triad, you'll see 3 points: ease, elegance, and skill, right? Suzanne represents all of those things. She has a deep and reflective understanding, not only of the academic, cognitive language of the Nia work, but she has great skill of bringing her subjective knowledge and talents to the work. She's skilled in creatively adapting the work to do what? To ensure that the people in front of her, that her students, that their needs, their unique needs, are addressed with her instruction. And that requires a tremendous level of connection, human connection, and presence. Suzanne knows what it means to connect, to be warm, to be caring, and to continually keep her eye on the prize. And that is reflecting on the students' outcomes and to make decisions for her patients and her students that promote high level of learning, understanding, and embodiment of knowledge and tools and skills so that people can empower themselves to make changes in their lives. She is inquisitive and curious. That's what I look for. Having practiced Nia for over 25 years, you can feel her curiosity and her eagerness to always learn. She's motivating. I can call her and ask her to pick me up when I'm down, which I have. And she motivates me. She gets me back on track. She gives me a reason to act in a different way, which means she helps me shift my mind and my mindset. She's nurturing. She cares about herself, her family. She cares about Nia. And most importantly, what I see of mastery, she encourages growth in herself and the people around her. She's observant. She's quick to notice things, which means that she pays attention. And she pays attention not just to the big picture, but to the details. She's organized. I love that. She likes systems. Maybe that's because she's partnered up with a scientist, I'm not sure. But in any case, I know that the best teachers have a path, they have a methodology, they have map, and they use those things. She's also patient. I've been privileged to have Suzanne in trainings and watching her, not only her patience for listening, but her patience for listening, not just about the work, but listening to others, and her patience of listening to herself. She lives and expresses 5 important qualities of master teachers. First of all, she is an expert in student learning. She's a student, which means that she's always receiving new, novel, and fascinating information. She's an expert in the practice and pedagogy of Nia, all things Nia. She can speak the language, she can model the moves, and she can move things around and organize them in a way where they work. She is an expert, as I said, in areas and content areas from classic Nia to free dance to moving to heal. She's studied the work. She has a deep commitment, and this is huge, a deep commitment to being a lifelong learner. And she's a leader in her community. She's a first degree black belt, and she's been teaching Nia workshops. Wow, can you believe it? For over 25 years. As I said, a psychotherapist, psychologist, now retired from private practice. She should be having more fun. I hope so. She is a somatic educator of the best kind. She teaches Nia classes. She runs workshops for who? People like me. Active seniors navigating the aging process. That's what it's about. It's all going in that direction, so we better learn how to navigate it and be present. Her classes, of course, as a psychotherapist, psychologist, they address not only physical needs, but emotional well being. She's 78. Can you believe it? Look at this. She's a model of aging beautifully, passionately, living in her body, living her best life. And she knows firsthand how Nia contributes to a healthy physical, emotional life and to living a healthy lifespan. For many years, and we're going to talk about this, she led free dance and seminars and to group therapists. Why? Well, she used it as a way to help people develop an attunement in a group setting through the physical nature of the whole practice of free dance. Now, what's the common denominator between Suzanne and you and me? We live in a body, and we have a body in life, and we're curious. Suzanne, I couldn't be more excited and proud to welcome you and congratulate you again as the 2024 recipient of Teacher of the Year.
Debbie, I'm so moved by everything that you've said, and it feels like you really know me. And of course you do. You know, we've known each other for all these years. 1978 was when I came to Portland for the first time and did my white belt.
Wow.
And every time I had a chance, I would say to whoever was listening, I feel like a fish out of water. I felt so out of it. I felt so different from everybody else, being from the East Coast and living 99% of my life in my head. So Coming out to Portland in 1998 was really a revelation for me. And I had many um, very deep experiences from my white belt that just made me want to come back again and again and again and again. And that's what I
Well,
did.
let's hear a little bit about your story and history. First of all, I want to know, how did you get into the field of psychotherapy, psychology? Did you think about that as a young girl? How did that come about?
Great question. I went to a classical high school. We studied Latin for 6 years, and I didn't even know what psychology was.
Wow.
And I happened to be good at math. And you were saying earlier about systems, and I loved math because it was logical, and I always knew what the right answer was. I just loved it. So I just started college, and I thought, oh, I'll major in math. Well, after about one semester of calculus, I realized no,
Don't do it.
no, no, no. And I went to Boston University, where you had to take all courses from every part of the curriculum. And I took a sociology course, and I took an anthropology course,
Ah,
and I took a psychology course, and I fell in love. And what I think is comes is a common denominator for me is falling in love with psychology and falling in love with Nia.
mhm.
Very similar kind of experience for me. I just and I was not a great student, but I got A's in those subjects because they were so inspiring, and I loved the stories. Learning about people's lives, and was just it was very exciting to me. I think the reason I went into the clinical aspect had to do with my family that I grew up in, which was a family that was affected by mental illness,
Okay.
and I kind of was the healthy one. And I observed what was going on, but I also had a lot of responsibility to help and manage other people in my family. So I think most psychotherapists started off being family therapists in their own families.
Okay.
That's how we started. So it was those combinations, but I just fell in love with psychology. And I loved anthropology because of the whole issue about difference. And I bring that to my classes. Every single body is different. Every single individual that comes to class has their own experience and comes from their own place. And I really learned that from taking anthropology classes. So that's how I started. And then every opportunity, raised my hand. Anybody want to co-lead a group for couples who have alcohol problems? Anybody available to be a recorder for a group? I was just very enthusiastic. And as you can tell, I'm enthusiastic about Nia in the same way.
So, can you? I love to ask this question, particularly to quote professionals who are trained in something. Can you describe any early clinical error or mistake that you made and what you learned from it? Because boy, I can go back and say, "Whoa, I can remember I did that and that," and what did you learn from it?
Yeah. Well, that's a question that I don't have a lot of responses to. I don't ever feel like I make mistakes. I led a group. I did a workshop where I was leading a group it was called an observation group. So I was leading the group, and there was this very big audience. They couldn't hear me very well. I felt so embarrassed and so ashamed, and I couldn't even manage the feelings. They were so intense.
Wow.
So that was one experience I had later on in my career, where I felt very exposed, and oh boy, did I feel awful. I feel and I remember Carlos used to say, you've got to learn how to suck. You have to learn how to be terrible at something.
Yeah.
And that was the experience. The other one was early on in my career, very early. Um, I was in a outpatient setting, and I had a new patient come. And this man came into the room, and I had a little bit of a background about why he was there. And what just popped out of my mouth was, "What's up?" And this man's problem was he was an exhibitionist. I never ever ask somebody what's up when they come into, the first you here is usually what brings you here.
Yeah.
What's up? I was, that was another one. My unconscious was just all over the place. And then we settled that and did the work. But it was another. But those are the two things that come to mind. I don't feel like maybe I don't dwell on mistakes, or I don't kind of feel like they're that important. There's always learning that takes place.
Absolutely. And I think that that's what makes you a masterful teacher is, quickly feeling the out of alignment and getting back into alignment very
Yes,
quickly.
yes,
They
yes.
asked us sensei, the creative Aikido, what's the difference between, what's different about him and, other very masterful Aikidoists. It's he was able to come back to center
Hmm.
faster. And I think that's something that I've seen you do, come back to
Hmm.
center very, very quickly
Yes,
into
yes,
that
yes.
place of stillness and reflection.
Hmm.
And, that's a beautiful, beautiful skill to have. But I love that the intrinsic motivation to delve into the world of psychology came from such a beautiful place of the integration of, sociology, anthropology, and psychology,
Hmm.
humanness, right? What
Hmm.
about the human condition,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
And the diversity of the human condition, which we know in Nia from studying the body's way. And there are no two bodies alike, right? They may have the same parts,
No,
but there are
we're
no
all
two femur bones are the same.
no.
Nothing. That's one of the things I love about Gil Hedley's integral anatomy approach is which is something you do as well. You look and you see who's in front of me. And that's a great gift when you have all of this knowledge of how to fix somebody, right? Or how to heal them or how to guide them. Um, and you have that, but then what's important is okay, now how do I adapt that for who's in front of me? And
Hmm.
so seeing that person in front of you and asking the question, what's up? Or, you know, it's important. Um,
Yes, yes, yes.
what was it and what's your story that got you motivated to go into your first Nia class? And what was that like?
I started out in life dancing. So my mother was she was a very sensitive, attuned person. And when I was about 9 or 10, she said, "I think you might like ballet classes." So she signed me up for ballet classes, and I took ballet from the time I was, let's say, 10 till I was 20. And she found classes for me that were very, very, very low key and not at all performance oriented. So much
Okay.
like Nia, so much like Nia, not performance oriented. We were kind of maybe we had a little performance. Families came. It was really not much of anything in terms of performance. It was just learning. It was
Mhm.
just going on a Saturday morning, and when I was I think 14, because I think you have to be old enough. I started on point. I was on toe shoes. That was really
Wow.
exciting. I loved ballet, and I think it really has affected my whole physical being.
Mm.
I noticed my one of my daughters does she started off in life like this. We learned how to kind of let our shoulders drop in a relaxed kind of way in ballet. So I had that background. Then when I got to be bigger and bigger in the boobs, I moved. I couldn't do ballet anymore because I was just not. My body was not attuned to it. But I started taking
Wait a
modern.
minute. Are you telling me that breast size is a restriction from doing
Yeah,
ballet?
it certainly is.
Okay.
It
That's a
certainly
first.
is.
I've never heard that. I've
Oh yes,
seen
oh
it, but
yes,
I've never put the
oh
2
it is.
together.
But I discovered modern dance, which no shoes. And I took modern dance all the way through college at the Boston Conservatory here in Boston. You could take classes, as a community student. I loved modern dance. So I've always wanted and needed to move. I think I have an anxiety disorder. I think I've mentioned this to you before. And the best medicine for me is movement. So I was thinking, how do I prepare for this call today?
Mm-hmm.
Put some music on and start moving. That's what I did, right? So when I was 52, which is an interesting age that I understand from the Mayan calendar, when I was 52, I had terrible pain in my body, back pain, neck
Oh,
pain.
wow.
I was just always in pain. I wore a cervical collar because I had a cervical neuritis in my neck.
Wow.
And I went to the gym and it said Nia. I never heard of Nia. Robin was teaching like a demo class. And I went to her class. I said, "Oh, this is interesting." And I didn't think anything more of it, but no shoes. that really appealed to me. And then about a year later, I joined a different gym, and they had Nia with Jennifer Harvey, who was teaching at the time. And I did Transvision, and the one, the Amor Royale, that one, and then
Yes.
at the end, you kind of just float around the room. My whole body was shaking. I had chills. I was trembling inside. I was
Wow.
so emotionally and physically in tune with my body, with myself, with the music, with the movement. And so I went up to Jennifer at the after class. I said, "Where do I find out more about this?" She said, "Oh, you can go to Portland, Oregon and get a white belt." So that's what I did. I just immediately signed up. Said I took a week off from work and I went. And what a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I remember also the first few trainings I did with you. Every time I went up to get my certificate, I would cry and tell you and Carlos how much I loved you. It was like the love just poured out of me.
Beautiful.
So
Now,
that's
you
how I.
mentioned now let's talk about the word anxiety, all right?
Uh-huh,
I look at this, when you say, "I have an anxiety, disorder." When I hear
uh-huh.
the word disorder, I think that anxiety shouldn't be there. But in my perception, anxiety is a sensation observed by the person in their body, observing their nervous system's response to something that's happening in the external world.
Yes.
Um,
Or it could be the internal world too.
yeah, all right. Well, it can't separate it, but it's either they're triggered, right? Something
Mhm.
triggers me from
Yep.
the outside, whatever. Um, I feel anxious a lot of the times, and I think in today's world, the level of anxiety up for people without knowing they have an anxiety disorder. It's like I think today everybody has PTSD of some
We're
kind, and
all, yeah, we're
everybody's
all,
feeling more anxious.
yes,
Um,
yes. When I
which
when I say
means
when
that
I say
everybody
it,
should dance more, right?
yes. But what happens with me is that um, no amount of all the healing practices that I have had change a certain aspect of my neurology. And I think it really is the way I'm wired, and it comes from early childhood and also intergenerational trauma from the pogroms in Russia that my grandparents suffered, and then coming to this country, and all of the and my father's mental illness, my brother's mental illness. So all of those things. For me, what makes it a disorder is I can't eat and I can't sleep. Once
Ah,
you get to that point where you, not just that you can't eat, the body won't even accept food. It's a physiological thing, and not being able to sleep and being triggered by different things in my environment. Um, and so I started psychotherapy myself as a patient when I was 18, and I've been in psychotherapy all my adult life. So I've been managing it, I think, very, very well. But
mhm.
it goes beyond a little bit beyond the kind of anxiety that you're talking about, and which I also experience, which is just the response to life.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in
Everyday
a very,
stress.
very anxious place right now. But when there's certain triggers that happen in my life, I really my body shuts down, and that's what I mean by a disorder. And it took me a
Beautiful.
long time to accept that, to say, this is something I live with, um, and I live with it. I live with it, and I deal with it as best I can. It doesn't interfere with my life.
Well, that's the ability to manage your stuff, right?
Yes, yes,
Whatever your
yes, yes,
stuff is, right?
yes, yes.
Having the knowledge, the skill, the tools, the support system to manage your stuff,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Means that you can uh, thrive even when you're dealing with something as traumatic as a kind of anxiety that would shut your body down,
Yes,
as you
yes, yes,
say.
yes, yes, yes,
And
yes. Yeah.
that's why I say more than ever the world needs the
Yeah.
medicine of Nia, the
The world needs
knowledge of
me.
Nia, the education, to have
Yes.
tools to deal with a world that is so unsettling, unfamiliar, changing at a rate and a pace that we can't even, fathom. Um, so, I have this image of myself hanging on to a tree, in a cyclone, right?
Hmm.
That's what it feels like right now,
Yes.
hanging on. And yet, um, you know,
So I wanted to talk about something that's related to what you just said, Debbie. That
yeah,
has to do
go
with
for it.
it has to do with personal power. Um, uh, Even before all the last few weeks, which I agree with you, it's an onslaught of change that's just we can't we can't manage it. It's just too much. Um, Thinking about what's my personal power? What power do I have
Mhm.
in this world that we live in right now? And then how to impart that to my students, and how to bring um, awareness, the ability to pay attention, for example. People as they people are just not even able to pay attention to anything anymore. It's just
Yeah.
there's just too much going on. So they come to a class, and the first thing is pay attention to your body. Bring all of that out there, bring it back here, and just pay attention to what's happening right in this moment in time, and direct your attention. And that's personal power. To be able to direct your attention, that's personal power. And so I'm very much focused on that right now in terms of my classes and how I'm teaching. And the focus and intent of my classes is personal power. It's how to develop it, how to pay attention in a way that we can feel and be powerful. How do we sense strength in our bodies? How do we direct our attention from our bodies? I love suggesting to people that they look at the corners of their room. Look at the corner and point to it. That's a powerful move. you know so it's that way of manage, and that's what I'm doing myself. Is I'm trying, and as best I can, and I think I'm succeeding so far, to manage the stress that we're all under and that I'm under.
And
And
I love the way
Nia to me is the medicine. For me, it's the medicine.
you talk about personal power, being empowered to be in control of your life force. What
Yes.
moves our life force, right? Our attention. Where is my attention? My life force will go there. And, in sales and marketing, that's what you want, man. You want to grab everybody's attention. And now we live, in a world, unfortunately, where our attention is being grabbed not for the positive of, hey, use this product and you'll feel better, you'll look better, you'll move better, but now grabbing your attention to, in a sense, create more fear, shame, blame, cancel,
Mhm.
I call it the dark side of humanity or, and I understand the law of polarity. I understand the law of relativity.
Yes,
This is
yes,
relative to
yes,
that.
yes,
But I also
yes.
understand the law of attraction.
Mhm, mhm.
And it feels like today it's taking more, it almost feels like a physical effort to magnetize the positive and to stay in the vortex of the positive resonance than it used to for me. It feels like it's
Yes.
taking a lot more. Do you experience that?
Oh, absolutely. And so my antidote to that is I created a new routine this past 2 weeks called Hope, and the music is all about hope. It's
Mm.
all the lyrics are about hope, and then remember that old song? I don't know, probably from the '60s. Should I stay or should I go? That's
Uh-huh.
one of that's one of the songs in the routine.
Yeah.
So creating and listening to the beautiful chorus sing about peace and sing about positivity. Um, Having hope in the dark and this idea of hope in the ashes is another song. So having a playlist that inspires hope when everyone is feeling really hopeless right now and scared, very scared. So I've been teaching it the last 2 weeks, and the students just love it. They say, we want more of this. This is so good.
Well, the messaging, we know this from music, that not just the key and the chord and the instruments carry a certain healing quality, but also the words, as you say, of songs, so that people can stop the internal chatter, right? Whether it's a response to something that they've read or they've seen, or just worry, right? It's that it's that beautiful experience that you said when they come into class and they get to focus on just this, which is so powerful, um, as a psychotherapy tool, as you say,
Yes.
focus, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Focus, bringing our attention back, reclaiming our personal power, feeling like we can do something, right? Because that hopeless feeling of there's nothing I can do is something I hear a lot nowadays. What do you think when you first started in psychotherapy, what do you think the ultimate goal of psychotherapy was? If somebody said, "Oh, this is what it's supposed to do," what do you think it was, and has that changed for you, that goal?
Well, I think feeling better is always what people come they come to feel better. Um, and I think what they come to in the process of psychotherapy is to know themselves, to really, really know themselves, and to be in some ways more intimate with themselves.
Yeah.
Um, and the tools that I feel were most important, and that I still think are most important, was the relationship. So being able to have a relationship with someone, which is me, the therapist, and the therapists that I saw over the years, who uh, cared about me, and I cared about the people that I worked with, and I also offered them a relationship. I offered them a relationship within which they could learn more about themselves and feel better. And that really, to me, is a gift. It's both in terms of having that um, way of thinking about therapy was made it so much easier. I found it very easy. People would just come into my office and I'd say, "Tell me about yourself," and we would just start talking together, and we would, there'd be this relationship that was forming. And the same thing about group therapy, helping people develop relationships with one another. That I would then sort of guide them. So that's feeling better and really getting to know them. And I just love that part of therapy for myself, getting to know myself. Oh, that was really exciting.
I perceive, watching from the outside, that that's exactly what you do with your NIA classes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
building relationship, helping people feel better, and it is a group environment, whether you're
That's right.
teaching
No, it is.
online and they're
Yep.
not actually physically with you, but they are, or it's an in person. There's this relationship that you can't get away from.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And also to encourage relationships with my students. So I have some students who come. I teach 3 classes a week now on Zoom because I need the classes. That's why I teach 3 times a week, and I have 5 students who come to every class. They come 3 times a week, and we have a relation. We have a group, and then at the end of each class, or about 25 minutes past the half hour, because I teach on the half hour, um, people share and they get to know each other,
Nice.
and they listen.
Mhm.
And one of them said recently, I really love hearing Viv talk because she puts into words what I feel, but I don't have the words for.
Right? Right?
Yeah. So it's definitely a group, and ongoing. And then we have, I have an 88-year-old woman who just fell and broke something. I don't know yet what it is that she broke, but she's not going to be with us for a few weeks. And everybody's concerned about her, and everybody wants to know how
Yeah.
she's doing. And so there's a lot of connection that people develop, even on Zoom, even in a conversation like you and I are having right now. There's a connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been interesting watching um, the change, the transformation, I'm going to call it the reseeding of communities, you know, within Nia. COVID certainly created a dissolving of what was,
Mhm.
created a void in a sense, an isolation. And now, people coming back and reforming new relationships and reforming communities. And so it almost feels like a rebirthing process, which
Mhm.
the cycle of, birth, life, death, just happening over and over again.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it just feels like I'm more aware of that cycle, I think it is
Mhm.
because of
Mhm.
COVID. I'm certainly more aware of it. And watching how communities have broken away, people have left, new people have come, which is just part of the process of anything,
Evolution,
any
really.
kind of relationship. It's part of the
Yes.
evolution.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. 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 And I think Nia, for me, I would consider Nia uh, um, a movement practice that is equivalent to psychotherapy. It's a different kind of therapy. We wouldn't call it psychotherapy because psychotherapy has to do with this, supposed to be just having to do with this. Uh, but it is a therapeutic modality. Um, and so when I left my clinical work, I just felt like I wanted to be more expressive, and I wanted to have more of a lifestyle of my own that was about me more than about my patients. So once I started teaching, and I started teaching my online classes because of COVID. Because one of my friends said, "You've got to teach classes. I'm dying here by myself at my house.
Right.
Doesn't have nothing. You've got to start teaching." She was my first student. She's one of the people who comes 3 times a week. Um, that was the beginning for me. I had retired from teaching. I wasn't teaching anymore. My body hurt. Everything hurt. So I wasn't teaching. And when I started teaching Moving to Heal, I started feeling better. So then I said, well, let's teach twice a week. If I start feeling better with once a week, why don't I teach? And then I started doing, and I never ever have felt better in my whole life. Never felt better.
Well,
So that
and
was an ending. Both stopped teaching, stopped my clinical work, and then COVID comes along, and then I've got a whole new life of being a somatic educator, which I feel like I was born to do this. I feel like I was born to do this.
well,
Bring
that's the
bring
big
everything together.
difference when somebody says to me, what's the difference between a Nia teacher and an aerobic class?
Mhm.
And I said, well, I think the big difference is the fact that education um, is 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 such an important part of the work. And I'm not saying all Nia teachers do this, but it is part of the work to bring in the focus, the intent, to educate people about the body so they can discover more about their body. And I'm like you. I love sharing the education. I find it
Mhm.
fascinating.
Mhm.
And it is the one thing that creates that aha, I have more personal power now to control my experience of living in my body, whether I'm moving or sitting. Um, I do find it interesting when I meet people who have quit moving and they say, "Oh, I'm too old. I'm gonna stop teaching Nia," and I meet them. I will tell you that I'm sometimes shocked at how quickly I perceive that they've aged.
Ah, interesting.
And, it's an energetic and it's something visual. I see it in their posture, in their walk, in their voice, in their energetics. And, one of my questions was to you is, um, do you ever think there's a right time that you would say to somebody, "Okay, it's time to stop doing therapy?" I would say no,
It's
right?
time to stop thinking. It's time to stop feeling. It's time
Exactly.
to stop. Yeah,
And I
right.
think too often, um, we don't relate psychotherapy or taking a dance class with health insurance. That is
Mhm.
health insurance. That
Yes.
is health care, not just a
Yes.
card I keep in my wallet that I pay money
Mhm.
to, right?
Mhm.
Um, and it is the one constant that you look at on any prescription of how to feel better or live longer, movement.
That's movement. Yep.
And as well as, managing mental health, managing your emotions, etc. And in today's world, it's a challenge. It's
I
affected
wonder if that's
our youth
I
so
wonder if there's
much.
some ageism in that. That people
Definitely.
internalize, and I know I have myself internalized ageist ideas. And why would anyone think that it's time to stop? Um, when I stopped, I couldn't put any weight on the ball of my foot anymore, and it
Mhm.
wasn't until did moving to heel training that I realized, well, I don't need to step on the ball of my foot. I can teach seated until my feet heal. My feet are now all healed, uh, but I could teach seated. I was just reading to prepare today, like I could prepare, reading an article that I love, and I just was reading it again, and it says that the hands, if I can find it, the hands, there it is. A large proportion of the somatosensory cortex is devoted to our hands. And so just moving and feeling our hands might be an interesting option for dance therapy for those with restricted mobility.
Yeah. Yeah.
And wouldn't that be great to, not just have a seated class, but people could in bed, people could be seated, people could be standing, and we would just do just work
Yeah.
with the hands and dance the hands to the music. And
Absolutely.
why would you stop? Why would you ever stop? Um, because movement is, as you have said over and over again, we're wired for movement. That's how our bodies have been created. It was to move. That's why we have joints. We didn't If we weren't going to move, we wouldn't need joints, right? So for me, I used to say I'm going to teach till I'm 80. Now I'm saying I'm going to teach until I'm not here anymore.
Yeah, I'm just
I
saying
just plan to.
I'm gonna continue
Yeah.
until I can't,
Yes, exactly.
whatever
Right.
whenever that is.
Right.
But, you
But
bring up
even
an interesting thing
even
about the
if it's
hand.
just doing classes for hands when I can't do much more of it, maybe I can't do much more else, but I can do something. And I love hands. I love moving hands.
Well,
So
and
I
Nia's one of the unique programs that has hand techniques, that
yes,
pays attention to, again, this goes back to the movement detail. And the moment we engage the hands, we increase brain activity,
that's
right?
right.
Whether it's, petting your arm, giving yourself a hug, tickling the space. Um, and I can remember
Pointing.
years ago, Caroline Colas uh, um, facilitating a program at the JCC in Manhattan for homebound residents. And we took people that had no movement experience whatsoever, and we tested, could we train them the 52 moves, and could they go in and just teach people a move? And would it have any kind of positive effect? And it did.
Hmm. Hmm.
And as you said,
Yes.
somebody just laying in bed and doing finger flicks or
Yep.
palm
Hmm.
directions, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
The relationship, developing a relationship with one's body, as you said, feeling empowered that to do something, taking back some self-control, I think
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
really, really important.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
you know, how do you see Nia helping people deal with trauma? And let me preface this, when going to a training itself can trigger people in an awareness and an experience that can feel traumatizing to them because we've
Mm.
got, feedback that
Yeah. That's such a that's so hard um to deal with because when people come to a training, I know I was in some trainings where people seem to have a lot of difficulty. Um, you were wonderful, I felt, in holding the space for people when they were really uh, feeling traumatized.
Mhm.
Um, I don't think you can predict. I know that you would say if you're taking antidepressants, don't stop before you come to don't stop before you come to the. Um, there is a caveat that we use in the group therapy world to say that this training can stir up very strong feelings, and
Mhm.
if you don't feel ready to manage those kinds of feelings, then perhaps it's not the right time for you to do this kind of training.
Yeah.
And I know that that kind of caveat has been helpful, but some people still go ahead and some people have psychotic reactions to things. I don't think that you can really control that, but you can hold the space for it. And I think that's what you
Yeah.
do.
And
You hold the space.
you prepare yourself the best that you can, and you have options, and there's always gonna be the wild card,
Yes,
that
yes, yes, yes.
that does happen,
And
and
I
has
also think
happened.
that it's very important. I think very important to have two trainers, not one.
Aha.
And what you would do sometimes is you and Carlos were training together. And if there was someone who was having a lot of problems and was really having difficulties, one of you would leave and spend some time with that person one on one while the other one continued the training. I think the intensity of the trainings require that there be two people. It doesn't have to
Beautiful.
be two equal people. It could be one person who's a trainee who's learning how to teach. But to have more than one person in that role, I think, is important because the work is very stimulating, and for some people, it's way over the top, way over the top. Was I don't know if you remembered them when I had this transference to Carlos, and I went into this deep hole of wishing that my father had. My father died when I was 12. Wishing that my father was there was to see me as an adult. And there was something about Carlos's I think just because he was a male leader
Mhm. Mhm.
that brought this up and brought this out to me. And I told you about it at the time. I didn't go into it with
Yeah.
you, but um, it was a very intense experience. and I
So
was
is
able to manage it.
transference would you say transference is normal for people?
Yes, it's normal.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, it's a normal. We do it all the time. And I'm sure you are what we call it, a transference object. You are a transference object because of your role as leader. When you take on leadership, you are a transference object. And usually it's mother and or father, because
Mhm.
you're in an authority role. You have an authority position. So you draw those feelings from people. Um, and you manage a lot, but I think you do it very, very well. I give
Well,
you, I give you a lot of credit
thank you.
for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, transference is normal. You can call it projection. You can call it just putting feelings onto someone. It's not about them. It's about somebody in your past. It was somebody in my past. It was my father that I was really having the feelings about. So to understand that helps.
Absolutely, absolutely. Um, what would you say that when people come to you and come to your classes, you hope that you want to say, you can expect this from me. How would you describe that? It's like a restaurant, right? And you know what you're going to get when you step in the door. And I've always felt that about teachers. You need to know what you're serving so that you can, in a sense, know what people are going to expect. And therefore, you know what you're going to deliver, which to me keeps me on the right path.
Mm, Really great question. I don't know if I've ever really thought about that. Um, I think I've lived it. Uh, and I think probably the way I do it is more toward modeling than toward telling or putting into words what I do. I also feel that the Moving to Heal program, which is pretty much what I do now, is self empowering. So I tell people that I'm going to show them some ways to move, and then it's up to them to choose ways to move that feel good in their bodies today, in this moment, in their now body. So I kind of give them I tell them this is what I'm going to be doing, and then it's up to you to make choices for yourself. And when you make choices, that's your personal power. Every choice you make is an expression of your personal power. That's kind of what I say, but I don't say much more than that. Um, do you feel like you say more about that yourself as a what people can expect of you?
Well, it's interesting. I always find it odd when somebody says, "Well, now I teach moving to heal," because to me, that's what Nia is.
Hmm.
Um, the intensity of which you teach it, and I understand from a marketing perspective the need to package things like this is Coke and this is 7 Up, right? I understand that. My desire and hope was always that Nia would be taught in that way to empower people to make their own choices and decisions. All right, so we have level 1, level 2, level 3, or, a core, middle, reach. We have,
Hmm. Hmm.
language
Yeah,
for
yeah,
people to
yeah.
personalize what they do. Moving to Heal was designed in my mind to hang out the shingle that says what you can expect from this class. Uh, we serve food that's softer. You don't have to. It doesn't require. You
A
don't
lot of
have to have
chewing.
a full set of teeth, right? Um, but you're still going to get the 7 cycles, and you're still going to
Yeah.
get the 52 moves. It's just that we're gonna make it a little softer and a little slower, but
Mhm.
everything else is the same.
Yeah.
And
And vice
what it
versa.
says is what you can expect from my class is that, um, we're gonna slow down. I'm gonna make sure that your nervous system is not pressured. Those that come right? Where, there will be music and movement, but we can let the music not push us, or we can ride the beat and rhythm of the music. So to me, That's the difference. But to me, everything about Nia is moving to heal. Through movement, we
Mhm.
find health, right?
Yes, right.
And
Absolutely.
I think that it's so important for a teacher to find the resonance, the vortex of resonance with the work that supports them on their path as an individual, personally first, and then professionally. Because that intrinsic motivation, like you said, now I'm taking care of myself. I don't have to step on the ball of the foot. I can teach in a chair. Wow, now I failed my foot. Now I'm upright. That is the process of master student and master teacher. Adapting the work, applying it to your needs, and discovering the healing quality, and that then when you invite others to have their own experience, you have such confidence in knowing this stuff works. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
I am
I also I feel like you have given me, a template to play with, and I also feel that you've given me freedom to
absolutely.
create for
Yeah,
myself.
yeah,
Um, so there's this form and freedom kind of balance that I feel you've created, and that's what Nia offers, not just to the students but to the teachers. So
absolutely.
for me, Nia is a lifetime uh, lifestyle practice. It's for the life. It's for my lifetime. I see it as something that will be with me, and I will be with it. I said something when I was thinking about this. I chose Nia, and Nia chose me.
I think that's true. I've always said that, Nia is you choose, right? You
Hmm.
choose.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it works as long as it works. And when it doesn't, then you go find something else that works. Because what's important is that you feel good about your choices and decisions, and that you feel,
Hmm. Hmm.
in right alignment. Well, I am so thrilled to once again honor you as
Thank
the
you.
2024 Teacher of the Year. And for everybody, if you'd like to find out more about Suzanne, you can go to SuzanneCohen.net. That's SuzanneCohen.net. And there you're also going to find an article from 2011 that she wrote called Coming to Our Senses, the Application of Somatic Psychology to Group Therapy. And it's in the International Journal of Group Psychotherapy. It's a paper. It features Nia as well. So, very, very proud of that. And to find out more about me, you can go to my online magazine, Awakening Body and Life, at debbierosas.com. And there you can sign up to receive weekly inspiring education and wisdom. You can find me on Facebook by searching Nia, Twitter and Instagram at Nia Technique, on nianow.com, where you can learn all about Nia. You can find classes and learn more about trainings. And then Nia On Demand. This is where you can get 2 weeks free and get a taste of this work. Yep, in a chair, standing upright, longer workouts, shorter workouts. It's a way for you to bring movement into your life. Remember, life is moving what? Forward. So we might as well figure out how to move, or what we say in Nia, how to dance through life, to feel better and move better at any age. Thanks again for joining us, and don't forget, this is the time for us all to get in, to connect, and to be in a relationship with that most important person in our life, our body, to honor and respect the most precious thing we own, our body. I'll see you next time.